Hello there, it's Paul here and welcome everyone. So in this video I'm going to be doing a review of the Erickhill moisture meters, and I've been sent two types here. So it's the EWM01 and the EWM03. I'm not being sponsored for this, I'm not being paid for this in any way, I've got no discounts. My only payment is that I get to keep these whether I like them or not. So you can buy these, I know for sure, from Amazon. That's where they were delivered from, and I will put links below on where you can get directly to those. I do not earn anything from those links. I have no affiliation whatsoever with these with Amazon. Price wise, the smaller one, the EWM03, currently I believe is about $15.99 on Amazon, and the EWM01 is $18.99. The specifications on these is a 2% tolerance. First thing I was surprised at when I took them out was the quality of the packaging. I've already opened these, had a read of the manual just to have a look to see what they're like and put the batteries in. So I will show pictures on the side here of what there was prior to me doing anything. The quality of these boxes, nice thick cardboard, strong. If you're like me, once you get out of the box, you're either going to throw the box or you're going to put the box somewhere out the way and you're never going to use it again. The only disappointment I had when I opened this, they've used a piece of plastic in the bottom. I'm sure that with the expense they've gone to for the boxes, they could have quite easily had something, a bit of cardboard in there. There's literally the box, manual, and the meter itself, and the original batch, and the batteries are in there as well. And they both take AAA batteries, 2 batteries. This one, if you take the batteries out, I'll just take there, and you can see it shows the polarity nice and clear on the base, so there's no reason you should put your batteries in the wrong way. Nice, easy, secure catch, and as you can see, a massive difference in size. 5 languages. Comes with 3-year warranty on this one, and so it's nice and easy to use. I haven't looked to see what the QR codes take me to. Instagram, YouTube, and that one's open in Chrome, so that's a Facebook page. You haven't got loads and loads of stuff to read. Both manuals are very similar. Usual warning, introduction to the product, a quick diagram of what all the display and buttons all do, how to quickly use it. Both have slightly different features on them as well, for things like locking and stuff like that, being able to switch the backlight on, and this one even has a temperature as well, which you can flip between centigrade and Fahrenheit, and then you've just got the technical data on there. The important bit is this material comparison table. Same thing again, as you can see, bigger. As I show the picture, show it with the batteries just laying in there. There's the meter, manual, and a sticker which I'll explain in a moment. Manual almost identical to the other one. Same introduction, what all the keys, display signs mean, the auto shutdown which you can switch on and off, maximum measurement which I will cover, which is one feature I am looking forward to using. And the other thing this one has as well is the screen changes colour as well, from green, orange, red, depending on how high the moisture content is. Same technical index with the accuracies and everything, and again the material comparison table. This one, batteries, same batteries, you just literally unscrew the base and the batteries pop in there. Now, for checking the polarity which way round you've got to put the batteries, this one's a bit different, as it's actually on the back here. Obviously a lot bigger lengthwise, so it can slightly longer than my existing one, but it's actually still quite nice to hold. I've got to say, both of these, I mean this one especially, feels more of that, it's not really a rubbery plastic, but it does feel a really thick solid plastic on there. This one, I would say, still very solid, but it's a different type of plastic. It's more, I think, more in line with that one. So the sticker, now this one actually lists all your, because it has 7 different types of materials that you can measure, it lists what they all are. This one, it doesn't have so many material types, it only has 5, but they're listed on the back here, but they don't actually tell you what the material types are, they just give you a different percentage range. So we've got M1 to 4, which gives you different percentages for wood, and M5 for building materials. This is where the complication will come in, because I would now display hopefully a picture on the screen which shows all of those different types of materials. So if we look at the EWM03, which only has the 5 material types, for example, material 1 covers things like Brazilian walnut tree, material 2 would then be walnut, poplar, teak, material 3 white fir, maple, ash, balsa, sandwood, material 4 then things like mason pine, whatever that is, chili tree, white pine, larch, teak, birch, basswood, and the last one simply just bricks. Whereas with my existing one, it's simply you just switch between either wood or brick. The EWM01 does beech, spruce, larch, birch, cherry, walnut, some of your typical hardwoods, but then material 2 you've got things like oak, pine, maple, ash, Douglas fir and eucalyptus. Now I'm not sure how they really differ, because I mean obviously something like oak and pine, 2 totally different extremes. I mean I can understand oak and ash together because they've got the big open grain and they're both really good hardwoods, whereas on material 1 things like the beech and your walnut, closed grain, probably not quite so hard. Then material 3 on this one then suddenly jumps to cement mortar layer, so there's only really two wood types on this one, so the choice of wood types on this one might be a little bit easier to use than trying to decide which wood type you want on this one. What it will be is that you'll probably end up having it on the same material type all the while, whatever you do, because it will just be something you just get used to. So for use wise, both very simple. I mean you've got covers on the pins on the end of both of them. Both pins are probably very similar. This one is a little bit slightly wider. They are sharper. Well, they're both very sharp pins. This one is just sort of like longer, thinner ones, whereas this one just tends to be slightly stubbier and a thicker base. Now I think I did read the instructions. The idea of the nice sharp pins is that you can just really jab it into your wood, and I think probably you've just got to do it. It's some form of obviously common sense. Don't try and push it in too hard. If it's not going to go in, just don't try and force it, but at least you might get a little bit of penetration. The important thing here is how do they work and are they very accurate? Now the problem with something like wood is that you've got all those layers as the tree grows in the grain there. So for every year of its life it's supposed to have an extra ring in the tree. So if your probes, if you can get your 2 probes in exactly the same place for every meter, then you should get a consistent reading. But if you're on different layers, then there could well be different readings. So the best option would be on top of the layer, a bit like a spindle. Then at least you're going to have a more of a consistent result with all the meters. Then that's not always going to be possible. This is a piece of oak, been on my shelf for quite some time, so I'd expect this to be really dry. So on my own meter, there you go, getting about 11.3 and even 12.5 on that side. So you do get different variations. So it's between about 11 and 12.5. Now the small one, so it's just quick press the hold button. Material type 3, so that's 9.8, so it's very similar to what I was getting on my other meter. 9.6, 9.9, just to see even a slight difference can give you totally different results. So that's matching up with my existing one, and again this one is material type 2 for oak, so that's down to 8.3, 8.7, 8.8. So this one is actually reporting slightly lower, 9, so it's about the 1% out, so it's certainly within the tolerance. And as I mentioned before, it gives you a good guide on how dry the piece is. It's oak again, so that's receiving about 11. It's around about 11, just under. This one's picking up about 12, and my meter even up to 14, so this might be a bit better. So on the outside there with mine, I'm getting 12.9 as a maximum. This is down to just over 10, and I would expect this to be really dry on the outside because it has been sat here in the shed like this for at least 6 months, and that's around about 10%, 10% as well. So they're not all identical, but they are. My one tends to be a little bit higher, followed by that one, and this one tends to be the lowest one. So this is a piece of ash that I bought from the local sawmill last weekend, and as you can see, it's a lot wetter. So you can see it's a wet piece of wood. With this one, see straight away I'm getting up to 20 on there, so it might be that the probes had slightly digging in deeper. 16. See, that's the auto off, 10 minutes, and this one auto's off. So I'd say that's the same as that one. Interestingly enough, this one is now reporting a lot lower. There you go. So we've got a orange screen there, 15. And that's auto off as well. Is that because we're on run number 1? The good thing I like about this one, the feature, you just press the max button and you get max appear on the screen here. Now I can just go around all my readings, and every time the highest reading it finds, it will put it on the screen. So I've now got a 16.5 there. There you go, hit an 18.2 there. So again, it's very, very dependent on where you stick your probes. So I think with the smaller one, the probes close together, you need to make sure you do a lot more testing around the piece. And so you've got an orange screen to say it's sort of certainly above the level you want. And if you want to clear this max, you just press the max button again, and then it's back to normal. And I can feel that this is going to be wet. And there you go. You can hear by the constant bleeping on mine, we hit 20%. So with this one, there you go, straight up to the 20s. So that's even picked up to 23, 24 there. This one I will put on the max again. So straight 17, 18, 18 again, 19, 20.6. So that's 20.6, but that could be because we're on the wrong material setting here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put that through to the other wood material type, clear the max and put that back on. Just see if I come up with anything different. 21.1 there. So that's come up with a 21.1. So in general, I think mostly I was finding about 20% in there, maybe a little higher. And that one's come out fairly similar. So for very dry pieces of wood, this one's beech. Yeah, beech on material 3. And this one should be material 1. So with my meter 11.1, 11.2. This one's auto powered off again. Getting about 10. So I'm about 1% out difference. And with this one, getting 10.5, got a green screen. And just out of interest, what happens if I put that on number 2? See, it gives straight away a much lower reading. So the material does material selection does make a difference. Now, one of the features I didn't cover with the EWM03 is it also has the lock feature for when you do the reading, and that works very similar. You use the M button for material, so if I switch that on, get a reading, especially if it's somewhere you can't see, hold down the M button, and when I pick it up, I've got the reading on there still. So it should have the little lock symbol at the bottom there, and to clear that, just hold the M button down again. The lock should disappear, and we're back to 0 reading again. How do I compare all these? I've been using this for about the last 6 years ago, and it's been very reliable. It takes, the only downside on this, it takes the big 9-volt battery, which I just use an old rechargeable in there, and I think I've only ever had to recharge it once or twice since I've had this. These two use the AAA batteries. They're both very compact, especially compared to what I've got, and this one being shorter and fatter with the slightly wider pins, this one being more like a pen style, longer, thinner, has the narrower pins, so it concentrates more on a very local area for the moisture content, whereas this one's slightly wider. What I've found is this one tends to read the moisture content slightly lower than this one, and this one is probably more comparison to my meter, but they're both still within their tolerances. What I have found with this one is that on the lower moisture contents, it sometimes struggles to pick up a reading, but it's not such a big problem, because if the moisture content is that low, you're going to be quite happy with it. It's more when you get into the double digits of the moisture content that you're going to be more worried about where the moisture content is. If you're struggling to get a reading, you know you've got fairly dry wood. They both have an auto power off feature, which is about 10 minutes. This one has the coloured screen, which changes from green to orange to red depending on how wet your wood is, so it's actually quite visually quite handy, especially since the display is that bit smaller. Now they both have, I think, features that you're never going to use and probably wouldn't make a difference if they weren't there. The one on this one is the temperature. I think it's more the unit temperature, because when you've got this held in your hand, that temperature will start going up. I think the temperature becomes quite handy if you're in the extremes of the operating temperature. The one feature I find on here that you just do not need is that you can switch that auto power off. So if you hold, I think, the max button down when you switch it on and then release it, you no longer get the little timer symbol next to your letter M for your material type. Compare the two. This one, a very rigid plastic, but it is more that plastic feel. This one, even though it's still the similar sort of plastic, it has sort of like that rubber outer layer to it, so it just feels more grippy, it feels more robust. So results wise, the one thing I don't like with the EWM03 is that there's too many material wood types. There's 4 material wood types on there for you to choose from, and I think they will all give slightly different results. Not massively, but I think what you'd end up doing is, for me, I would just stick to material 3 for literally everything. Whereas this one only has the 2 material for wood, but it has a whole host of other things. How accurate they are, I honestly don't know. I've found the unit gives a slightly lower percentage reading than the EWM03. So that's my only downfall on this one. So overall, if I didn't have any of these, what would I want to go out and spend my money on? I'm a bit hit and miss really, because I like the reliability of that, because obviously I've been using it for the last 6 years. However, the maximum feature on that I really like, and the slimness of this I really like, because if you're doing a hollow form, and I will be able to insert that straight to the bottom with the maximum feature on, and where I can't get to any buttons or see the display, and I can get a moisture reading from what's inside the wood, which is what really matters. Whereas the one thing I like about this, it's very close to the mine meter, but I don't like all those wood material types. I'm almost on the tendency that I would like to keep my meter because I'm so used to it, but I think if I was going to go out, if I didn't have any of them and I was going to probably go out and spend my money on anything, I may well edge towards the EWM01, which is slightly more expensive, but it's got that feature of the maximum feature and being slim to get into smaller places. So I hope that's helped. I believe these have been sent to an awful lot of wood turners, and there's a lot of reviews out there on these which have all been done well before I've done this one, and certainly check out some of their videos, see what they found out as well. Thanks a lot for watching.